Hey friends, I'm Tony.
And I'm Tyson.
And welcome to Two Dudes That Don't Drink, a podcast where we explore the day-to-day struggles and stressors that come with this thing we call life.
We will be aiming to offer our listeners practical tips and advice for navigating today without turning to alcohol.
Each week, we'll be joined by experts, ordinary people who are making it through the daily grind without a drink in hand.
So if you're looking for a supportive community of like-minded individuals eager to learn and grow together, then saddle up and get ready for a ride with
Two Dudes That Don't Drink.
Yeah, Tyson, buddy. Back again. Guess who's back? He's back, actually. Eminem's back. He's got that new album and stuff.
He does. Houdini.
Pretty good.
Big Eminem guy.
You are a big Eminem guy.
Yeah, we are back in the new studio still again. Got some new camera angles. Still waiting on some furniture. We are back recording Two Dudes
That Don't Drink here at the Nielsen Blacktopping Studios.
Yes, sir.
Thank you to Nielsen Blacktop and our newest sponsor, Rooms and Rest. We'll be bringing in some furniture, so we'll have another setup probably the next time we record. We'll have a new setup here, so can't thank those guys enough. Super appreciative and grateful for what they've given us to do this. But today we bring in a new guest, and I'm gonna fucking shred your name.
It's all good.
Is it Pete Schletz?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Nice work.
How do you screw that up?
Well, I thought it was like Schultz and Schleitz or Schluckenblogger, whatever. Schlitz.
Six Schlitzes.
Schlitz. So Pete's on with us. So I know Pete from the bars.
Yep.
That would do it.
Yeah. Their worlds combined there. I don't know much about you, so I'm actually very interested in to hear what you got going on and who you are and what you do. And but Tyson, you and Pete have
So you and I know each other a little bit. We definitely have the bar connection.
Yep.
I forget how long ago. It was a couple of years ago that I think you had reached out to me about some times that you were going through.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
But recently you are on now. How long has it been sober? This right
35 today.
35 days.
Yep.
Nice. Congratulations.
Thank you.
yeah, bud.
What I wanted to do was get a little bit of a fresh perspective.
Yeah.
We always talk about us always having, I'm 3. I just had 3 years. For me, you just had 6, right?
Mm-hmm.
Congrats on that, fellas.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Deal.
So, we talk about people that have a long time of sobriety underneath their belt. I want to get a fresh perspective because I think that there's a lot more people out there that need to know what it's like, what
In the beginning.
what the fresh wounds feel like, is what makes you get to the point to say that, I'm going to make it, for these 35 days and keep going.
Mm-hmm.
So that's originally what I had reached out to you about. I think that it's a good, introspective into, like I said, fresh new sobriety.
Yeah.
And so that's something that I would just love to get your viewpoint on.
So like fresh, like new, like you've never tried.
I was 3 years sober about 5 years ago. I picked up again. So I had a good 3 years. I did the whole Hazelden thing, went to outpatient, ran into a guy named Tim. I may reference him a lot. And he had me stay in outpatient for an entire year.
Oh, wow.
And a whole group of us did it. And a lot of those guys are still sober now.
Okay.
So yeah, I had 3 years.
Okay.
How long ago was that?
Like 7 years ago.
Okay.
Yep.
So 3 years ago, or I'm sorry, 7 years ago, you started your 3 years?
Let's see. Yes.
Okay.
Yep. I'm not the best historian, but that sounds right.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, it's just a matter of time.
Right.
Yeah. It's everybody's just kind of background and story.
Well, and like, I'm not like trying to prod or anything, but we're talking about people getting fresh new perspectives and fresh new, and what happened at that when you I guess you fell off the wagon? Because this is what really people, and like, I'm not asking you to.
Share-
You can share as much as you
Obviously,
want.
share as
and-
much as you
It's
want.
all good. I'm an open book. Don't worry.
Yeah. So, but this is what I think people are really interested in is hearing. Okay, you went 3 years, and then what the hell happened? Like, what happened?
Let's do this. Let's take one further step back. You know, we know each other. That's kind of our common bond, is we know you from the bars. You and I have a really, really close mutual friend. And you know, what was your like daily routine? Maybe not daily routine, but what was your addiction like? Like, what was your active addiction like? Was it like an everyday thing, or was it
Definitely every day.
a party animal thing? Yeah,
Nope,
let's
it
talk
was-
about that.
I mean, it was every day and then turned up on the weekends extra.
Sure.
So really, it's just out of control. But I hid and hide, lots of hiding and lots of lying. Both times, you know, before I got sober, which is right before these 30-something days, and prior to the 3 years, everything I did happened the same. It's just the length of the progression changed. That's about it. But it started, you know, not drinking too much, and then just as the weeks and months started going, it just kept adding on and adding on. You know, it's just beer, and then it turned into beer and a few shooters, and then it turned into fuck the beer.
Yeah.
Let's just hit some
Yeah.
cocktails and shooters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're not
What are
even
we
messing
wasting
with
our
the
time
beer.
for? Yeah.
And then eventually it just becomes a routine. And getting out of is, it's the hardest thing I've had some challenges in my past, and it's by far the hardest thing to get out of the routine.
Yeah.
No questions asked about that.
What was it that you know, let's talk about the first round that you had. What was your kind of aha moment that you said you went to Hazeltine?
Yep.
So what was your kind of aha moment that made you make that leap?
I mean, really, life was just falling apart, every aspect, just like it just had previously. Work was just too much to handle. I get really depressed, and like suicidal thoughts and stuff start creeping in, and then I just kind of deal with that and don't talk to anybody about it.
Sure.
So, yeah.
I would assume the minute the depression starts to hit in, it's where's the bottle?
Yeah.
Where's the sauce?
Because it's that temporary relief
Yes.
that turns out the next day it only gets a little bit worse.
Right.
You know, you wake up anxious. You don't even know, you haven't started your day yet.
Mm-hmm.
But that thought of, for me, it's how am I going to get liquor today? How am I going to set this up? You know, it's a plan.
Yeah.
Every day it's a plan. While I'm in the shower, you know, most people are thinking about how work's going to go.
Yeah.
You know, I need to get gas in the car. What am I going to have for supper tonight? For me, it was how much, when can I do this, and how can I try to get away with it?
Right.
You know, it's either planning, doing, or recovering.
Right.
I mean, that's the cycle it turns into.
Right.
So, I mean, when it just turns into a daily lifestyle like that, man, it just becomes, like it says, first step, it's unmanageable.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And in the meantime, you're lying not just about alcohol, you're lying about your every move. I'm not running to the grocery store just to get some Kleenex and some cleaning supplies. I'm going there to grab some shots and then buy some stuff to look at, like, you know, I was actually going to help and get things.
Right.
You know, it's all one big continuous lie on top of another lie. And eventually, you know, loved ones, they give up. And they're like, can't really believe anything you're saying anymore.
Sure.
You know, and just having that feeling of like, nobody believes me. But guess what? No wonder. You're
Yeah.
full of shit.
Yeah.
Like the whites of your eyes are brown. You know, and then you start to think people are out to get you. Well, no, they're just backing off. You know, they're just detaching because it's too hard to watch.
Sure.
So, but at the same time, I know this is happening, but I can't stop.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's just like a big cycle of depression and anxiety and guilt and shame. And, you know, I'm never going to be good enough.
Right.
So with alcohol, just, you know, you're dumping gas on a fire.
Yeah.
You know, you're dumping depressant on a depressed individual. And
Yeah.
guess what? It doesn't work.
Right.
I've tried.
Right. Did you were you medicated at all for depression or
Yeah.
anxiety and stuff? And you were drinking on top of those?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and that's, you know, it's not even worth it.
Yeah.
It's not going to work.
No, I'm the same way. I was prescribed for depression and anxiety and was drinking on top of it. And I knew it wasn't even compounding. It was just, it it like was a negative thing. It was like the minute you start drinking, the drugs stop working,
100%.
and you don't. It doesn't do you any good.
Well, and like, yeah, I'd say in my case, our case, that alcohol's in your system. If you're going to drink every day, it's never out. So the medication's never going to be able to do its thing.
Sure.
You know, and I'm an individual that's worked in mental health since the day I got out of college.
Oh wow.
So not only do I know and I teach the stuff to other people, but I was completely ignoring myself.
Wow.
You know, going to work, giving people advice, hey, you can't drink when you're taking those. Well, guess what I'm doing as soon as I get home today? You know,
I'm writing hypocrite on my forehead.
Yeah.
Like,
the largest hypocrite. And it's just like leaving work every day. Oh, Pete, you know, thanks so much. Your groups have been great. You know, I'm going to try this. And, you know, I learned so much. And I'm like, I live the opposite life of everything I'm preaching.
Yeah.
And that's a shitty feeling.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about, so one thing that I do like to, I personally like to hear is, what was your time like at Hazelton? I've only done like a kind of outpatient thing with myself. How was, you said you only did outpatient, or did you start
did
as,
inpatient,
you
yeah.
started as inpatient?
Yep.
Okay.
Honestly, Hazelden was great. And I was ready to be there at the time too.
Sure.
I mean, you could kind of tell the people in the room that were not ready or had to be there, or a spouse was
The
making
3
them.
hots and a cots.
Yes. I mean,
like,
you know, this is treatment number 26. And,
Yes.
you know, every time they talk, it's F this, F that.
Yeah.
You know, I'll be fucking fine. And it's like, okay, I was like, I'm not going to be like those guys. They
We're
were-
definitely not like those guys.
Yeah,
for
I'm like,
sure.
you guys are miserable, and I'm going to try not, you know. And, you know, at the time, I had my daughters, and they were only like 1 or 2. I had a couple twins. So I thought it was great. Their speakers at night were awesome. They had people coming in from all over the country. The routine of the day was helpful. I mean, it kept you busy. I mean, by the end of the night, you were so tired. Because, like, for me, at the end of the night, it's time to drink. So when I got there, when it was the end of the night, it was time to eat the really good food.
Sure.
And then I'd just be tired as hell. So it wasn't so bad. But I just also remember, like, wanting to be there. Kind of like where I'm at now. Like, I'm wanting to do this.
Right.
And I was just, like, open about it back then, too. Just like, yeah, this is who I am. And, I mean, it's the same thing. You know, it all ended the same. Just I got sick of being depressed all the time. And, you know, when those shitty, dark thoughts start creeping in, that's not fun for anyone.
Right.
So
Right. How long was your inpatient?
it was 30 days.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
what I did too.
Yeah.
Did you have to do any detox when you went in, or
I think it was mandatory.
detox?
Yeah, the first 3 days.
Mm.
I mean, I didn't go in clean. You know, I knew what I was doing. My dad came and picked me up in Mankato, and I ran out to the garage and slammed as much Fireball as I could get down before I went in the truck. I'm
Fireball,
sure
that was the
that
was the choice.
Yeah, it was quick. It was easy. And,
Yeah,
you know, it was
it's probably
cheap.
what you had,
I didn't have
yeah.
any money left, of
Yeah,
course. You know.
yeah.
So, I got up there, and especially when you have anything in your system and you're taking meds,
Yeah.
it was just like a mandatory 3-day. They watch you when I went there.
Sure. Okay.
So post Hazelton, what was it like? So now you said that you did basically another 11 months of outpatient.
Yep.
So talk to us a little bit about that. What did that look like? Was that just like a daily call, or how did you?
No. So I got out of Hazelden, and a month later, I was diagnosed with Hodgkin's lymphoma, and I was just starting outpatient. And
Sure.
it was at New Beginnings in St. Peter, and it was like a Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, 5 to 8 type thing. For the first few months, it was with, a counselor named Sue, and then a guy named Tim, I mentioned earlier, came in, and I had just been diagnosed. I don't even know if I started chemo or anything yet. I was riding high, but I was pink clouding it. I was kicking ass coming out of Hazelden. I had started running again, the whole bit.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, I went to the hospital because I had a lump on my neck, and turned out it was cancer. So then it was just like a crash. But I just kept going to outpatient, because I was like, I have to. I still wanted to be sober. So I met this guy, Tim, and he kind of does things his own way. And he finds ways to have people stay in a program, an outpatient, for as long as possible. Because the longer you do it, the more fellowship you get, the more connections you get. more accountability. Everyone becomes close. So, his thing is the longer you guys stay, the more successful you'll be. And, it's proven he's right.
There's some logic to that. Yeah.
Yeah. And it worked for a lot of, like I said, a lot of the guys now are still sober. I just went back to the meetings I used to go to 5 years ago, and one of them's still sitting there, and he's 8 years sober.
Nice.
It's like, I told him, I wish I'd been sitting next to you the last 5 years, man, but, so yeah, I just went there for a year, and, he's a very upfront, straightforward individual, which is good for me. And he says, if you drink, you're going to die. And that was the first time anybody had told me that. And it was like, oh my God. Well, it was, also because I was sick, but he's like, if you drink the way you do, if you go back and you try to do chemo and radiation, there's no chance you will die. So he's like, you need to stick with me for the year. You're one of the guys that are sticking around. And I was just like, whatever you say, boss.
Yeah.
So I just stayed with him a year and then kept in contact with him. And then I played that little game like I did with you. I've been doing that with him for the last 2-3 years too. Like, call him up. I need help. I'm crying. I don't know, the whole bit. And
I mean, I played that game with him.
Yeah.
That was the same. That was the same thing. It was, you try to find somebody that you can lean on, and that's one of the things that I love about this platform, and that I love about they say recover out loud so that those that are suffering don't have to do it in silence. So I like to be able to do that. I love to be that person. And, for anybody else that's out there, reach out and talk to somebody, especially that has some time under their belt, because part of, the program, I don't know, if you're an AA person or whatever the case is.
I'm just not anonymous.
Right. Same with us. Yeah. And, part of that is giving back. I actually just was on my online Zoom meeting on Thursday, and they covered step 12, which, seemingly should be the easiest one. But it's the one that talks about giving back to your fellow alcoholic. And so I play that game, you play that game. And I think that there's a lot of other people out there that just do the same thing. And it's like, that you want to recover, but you just don't know how to do it. Like, there's a lot of, we're not those people. We're not alcoholics. Like, you look in those rooms, like, look, who the fuck are all these weirdos? Right? Like, that's not one of us. And so until you have some acceptance of that, I think you do play that game. It's just easier to do that day in and day out. Act like you want to stop, but until you're really forced to it, you don't do it.
Yeah.
Right.
And even with what I do with you, popping up to those meetings or two I did. I mean, really, that's still like a big lie, because in my head, I still wasn't ready. And I was just doing that to appease others.
Sure.
My smarter half was getting sick of it. I know I have a problem, I'll go, until the storm clears. Otherwise, it's just another fat lie. In my head, I knew maybe I can hold off for a couple days and everything will cool down, but I do have a problem. You know what I mean? But just simply not being ready to dive in and go for it, because it takes.
So you do 30 days in inpatient, you do 11 months outpatient. I mean, then you continue on, what is that?
For 2 more years?
For 2 more years sober.
Yep.
And in that time, you're going to meetings. Are you still talking to Tim?
I am. I was probably kept going for like once a week after the year I was with them, just because it was close to where I lived at the time. Let me back it up. Like, while I was sober for that 3 years, like, to be honest, especially looking back on it, I had no plans on staying sober. I thought my alcoholism was all circumstantial. My marriage sucked. I have trauma as a kid, or this has happened to me. I got all these things going on. It's the only thing that makes me feel better. If I get some therapy and I sober up, I'll be fine someday when I try again. And that's basically what my plan that carried out over a 3-year span.
Gotcha.
So
gotcha.
I knew it was a problem, but I also had in the back of my head another voice saying, hey, you're good. You just need to take a break for a while.
Gotcha.
You'll be fine whenever you do choose. And eventually I got comfortable. I stopped going to meetings altogether. I probably stopped talking to Tim, I think, at that point, because I knew it was coming and I didn't want to disappoint him. So yeah, that's kind of how that went down.
Isn't that funny how that works though? Is you know better. I feel like you still have that good conscience, like that angel on your shoulder that's telling you, don't do that. You don't need to do this. But then, you think it's another angel on this shoulder, but really it's it's obviously the devil, and he's saying, You're fine. You're fine. Look, you already made 3 years, right? So you can stop whenever you want for the rest of your life, right? Because you made it for 3 years. Yep. So it's like you get lulled in this false sense of security. And I think that so many people, this is again just another new perspective where I think that people like do that every day. I think that there's people out there that struggle with that every day, and this is a great way for them to hear another viewpoint of that story.
Right. Yeah. The justifications run wild.
Yeah.
You think of one reason you shouldn't, and you have 10 reasons why it's okay.
Yeah.
The demon's knocking at the door. If you answer, you're fucked.
Yeah.
And I answered, and I mean, really, I was fucked from the start.
Sure.
It just was slow going at first, but.
So yeah, talk to us about, let's not even call it a relapse, but let's just say,
Prelapse?
Sure. Yeah. Even back into your old ways. Like, was it just, you ordered a beer with dinner one time, or, how did that progression get back to off the deep end?
Both times it started with beer. I can have, a couple before. I won't drink after.
Yeah.
Or, liquor's not going to happen. That I don't want to do liquor again. I don't need it. A lot of that lying to yourself. Then it turned into, vodka or Captain. And it was like, a couple cocktails. Well, not pouring them like your regular individual. I mean, it's really 2 or 3 or half and half or whatever more. And then that happens. And then the buzz is good, but it's just not good enough.
Are you doing this by yourself?
Mostly hiding it. Yeah.
Okay.
Like if I go out with people, I feel like I would handle it better because there's more like conversation and like things going on. But really, I mean, what like saying like drinking and having like a beer just at dinner.
Yeah. So what I'm getting at is like I would have assumed that there was somebody around you that knew that you were sober, and they would have been like, "Hey, what the fuck are you drinking for?" or something like that.
And that did happen. That would be, her name is Jenna.
Okay.
Like, dress her as my smarter half. And let's just say
I have one too.
Way more than once,
Mm-hmm.
she brought things up, and really, I don't even know how to explain it. It's like I hear you, but I don't know what to do. And then not even wanting to say that because it's almost like admitting. And I didn't want to admit it yet, even though the person that was closest to me at all times knew exactly what was going on.
Yeah.
So many times it's like, hey, you should probably start cooling it. Because, when I met her, I was sober. That was part of the 3 years.
Okay.
And so eventually, she had said something, and then as time goes on, just it got said more often, and really I just neglected it because A, didn't want to hear it, just being honest, and 2, not ready and feeling like, all right, well, I'm chained down now. Now what am I going to do? And then like to her, and other spouses or what have you of alcoholics, it's just they think you're choosing alcohol over them.
Yes.
And it's not even like that. You just don't know what else to do.
That's I think a big point that I think the general public needs to understand is that it's not necessarily a choice that you're just making. You're choosing one or the other, right? It's like you get to a point where you have to have that to survive.
Yeah.
It's dependence. It's not
100%.
It's not I'm just going to go have a drink and then I'm going to deal with the consequences later. It's like I cannot operate my life without having alcohol in my system.
Yeah.
And so that's when people, I think, lose track of what we really mean when we say chemical dependent. That's like, I have to have it.
Yep.
So.
Well, and then like the lies alcohol just tells me, like I take it because I want to get home and be loosened up around the kids or around everybody. But ultimately, if you have enough, you just get annoyed. Or, I want to be the funny guy. Well, after 1 or 2, you might be the funny guy, but after a little bit, you're not that funny anymore.
Yeah.
This shit gets a little ridiculous. What are you doing? It's Tuesday.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just becomes a joke and a sick routine that I don't know what to say about that.
Sure.
So 3 years sober, then we're going into 5 years of
Drinking,
raging,
like I like to call research.
research.
I went out and, like the Tim guy says, Pete, you went out and did your research.
Yeah.
You know, so yeah, I did for 5 years, and that progression was about the same as it was before.
Okay.
So yeah.
And then 35 days ago, what happened?
Well, like I said, both times ended. I was pretty suicidal, depression. Pretty much every loved one had it with me. Not mad, but like, we can't watch you do this anymore.
Right.
Type feeling. Yes, mad, especially Jenna, because she's the closest one to it. But it's just like, what have I done? Like, being oblivious to the damage I just caused for 5 years straight, and then realizing what was happening. And then for the 2 weeks before the 35 days, I was trying to get help, and I couldn't get it because I was having insurance issues. So that made it even worse. Like, I'm screaming, I need help, and it wasn't working. But I was also drinking and trying to get myself help. So I don't know if I was even keeping conversations on phone calls right. You know what I mean? I was getting phone numbers mixed up with the wrong people. I'd call somebody else, and they're like, "Oh, that wasn't me you talked to." And it's like, oh, okay. I can't keep phone calls straight, you know, and then just going mad. And then it got to the point where it was like coming to the end with pretty much everything, and I just couldn't handle it anymore. Like, that feeling of, I'm never going to come back from this again, because I know how hard it was the first time. I don't know if I have it in me again to do this, because it's, like I said, it's the hardest. I just tell people it's the hardest thing people are going to do, you know?
Yeah.
Like Tim says, every day an alcoholic doesn't drink is a fucking miracle. And it really is, because it never really like you guys know, it doesn't go away. You have to accept it and manage it. And so, I ended up going up to the hospital and being on the behavioral health unit for about 5 days, and did some serious reflecting up there, getting myself back to sanity, and then just having a plan to get sober and stay. Like, I'm not doing this again. You know, I realized this is the same exact story. I can't do this. I know I can't do this again. I have to do it this time. And then I did hear actually a podcast. You guys were talking about David Goggins. Read his book while I was in the hospital, and that one really lit a fire under my ass.
Yeah.
You know,
That's all this guy.
He's a good one.
yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Can't hurt me.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that guy.
Yeah.
He's my favorite.
Yeah. He's a good motivator. That's for sure. There's a lot more that you can dive yourself into.
Yeah.
Just go for it.
And that's like using motivation of people that I don't think I can do it. 'Cause I'm like a competitive guy. Tell me I can't.
Exactly.
So there's two people when I was in the hospital told me. The first one was a nurse, and I had a discharge plan, and she didn't really care for it. I mean, it wasn't the best discharge plan, but it was time for me to go. And she said, Pete, I'm just going to be honest with you. The odds are really stacked against you. And right at that moment, I was like, what the fuck did you just say?
Exactly.
I'm reading David Goggins right now.
I can fucking do anything.
Not to mention, girl, I've done this before, and I do have some gangster in me. I can figure this out. Like, I have it in me. I just lost it for a while. And that just was like a spark. It helped, because I was already like starting to get pissed about stuff in a good stubborn way, instead of being stubborn like, I can keep drinking. Now it's like, I can prove all you want wrong. And I won't name the next person, but this person said, Pete, you'll never get sober. And this was a person in my life that it's their best interest if I'm sober. And I remember getting off the phone with this individual and like having tears. Like, I started crying because I was so pissed off. And it was so like motivating. Like, you just said I can't. And you are one of the top people on this planet that I want to show that I will. So so over the last 35 days, if there's a little creep and thoughts come in, those first two people are the first two things I think of,
Yeah.
you know, because watch me, you know,
That is,
fuck you, watch me.
That is one of the top ways I stay sober is, yeah, motherfucker.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. You wanna doubt me? Yeah. I'll sure. Can I not fucking handle Tony, don't eat candy for, a week, 2 weeks. Watch me fucking go into Casey's and buy some Swedish fish and hammer that shit down.
Yep.
But when it comes to drinking,
I'm the same.
when it comes to drinking, not a chance.
Yep.
0 chance. Because there are couple handfuls of people that sit in the back of my mind, and it's like, oh, I'll fucking show you.
Well, I talked to my oldest brother last night, and he asked me, he's like, so how's it been going? It's good. I'm rolling. He's like, has it been really hard? And I just was like,
No.
Yes, but not like last time. And he's like, well, what do you mean? I'm like, I just have different motivators. I know the end of the story. And I can honestly, for this first juncture, first part of the 35 days. And Robert Downey said this. He said, it's not hard to manage these ghastly problems. He said on Oprah, and she was like, no. And he goes, the hardest part of it is making the decision. And that was for me the same. Like, it's the decision's made. So all I have to do now is just do the right things. So go to AA. I got a sponsor right after the hospital. Do all the things that you're supposed to do, because when you did it right the first time, you were doing fine.
It worked, right?
Yeah.
It worked.
Yeah.
And when you stopped doing it, the voices in your head slowly got louder to the point where you had every reason to drink and no reasons left not to.
Right.
So
I'm going to state the obvious, but when I was in inpatient, there was the guys that were there. This is my 27th time, whatever.
Yeah.
But I did meet a couple of guys that, it was their third or fourth time. And they said it was double. Like when they started drinking, it went hardcore ×2 each time. And I imagine by listening to your story that you just told, it was ×2 when you started drinking again.
Yeah.
So these are facts now. It's not just somebody's story. It is, I've heard it enough now to know that that's just straight facts. And it's something that I like to remind myself of is, bro, you're drinking a handle of Captain and you're fine. And bro next to you is, hitting a six or a beer, and he's having a bite, and it's like, no, I'm hitting this 175, and this fucker's gonna be gone. Yeah. And I know if I start again, it's gonna be 175. Let's fucking go.
Yep.
And it's gonna be, where's the dark hole? Put me 6 feet under, because that's where I'll go if I start drinking again. And it's again number 10 on the list, or my list of motivators is, bro, you drink again, it's 6 feet under here.
Yep.
So
I want to ask you actually a question.
Oh, really?
Ooh.
Which I guess I don't know if we've really ever discussed is, do you ever get dreams of drinking?
So right away I did. Yeah. In that first 2 years, my first year and into the second year. Yeah. I'd have some pretty vivid
Sure.
dreams. And
I assume that you do.
Not this last time, but the
Really?
first time I did.
So I still have, in talking about that ×2 when you come back, I actually, just while I was on my work trip, when I was there, I actually woke up, and I seriously woke up in a sweat because I was like, fuck, I feel like I got drunk last night. Because I had a dream that I had been drinking in the setting that I was in. So I was in Mississippi, and so it was I went to the Mexican restaurant that was just across the parking lot in front of the hotel, and I drank. I had margaritas there, and then remembered coming back to the hotel, and then woke up, and so then that gave me a huge scare. First thing I actually did was I texted my wife, and just said, I had a crazy dream about drinking last night. And she said, well, thank God it was a dream. And I just think about that. I thought about that the times two coming back, and I was like, God, I couldn't even imagine like right now how much I would drink to get back to that spot.
And it wouldn't take long.
No. And just to, knowing what I was like at a times one, like if I'm going to give that a multiple, it's like, holy shit, like the world wouldn't be ready for that version of Tyson.
Yeah, no shit.
Nobody likes a bull in a china shop.
Yeah. Hey, fuck you.
Yeah. I would actually, that first year, second year, I would wake up like groggy, and I'd have to like look for my wife and be like, we just were in the driveway last night, right? Like we weren't like literally like my eyes are sunken in. I feel pale and like hungover like I normally do, like I had been, and like, no, dude, we're just in the driveway. Like we're fine, whatever. And it's like, man, that is just so weird to feel. And it's again, chalk it up on the list. Like I don't want to feel that again. Cause funny story. So some of the guys I work with, they, quit smoking and hit the flutes or whatever you call them. Those
Douche kazoo.
Douche kazoos. Yeah. And one of the guys is
Douche kazoo?
douche flutes, the douche flutes. He's got this,
a vape for those. That
a
don't know
vape,
what we're
yes.
talking
There,
about.
that's the word. But this other guy's got the pouches.
Zins?
Not Zins, but he's got this other one. And he had gotten more of them. And I thought they were just like tea packets or whatever. And I was like, oh yeah, let me hit one. And I threw it in, and it was it was nicotine. And it was like 6 milligrams. Well, then I'm like freaking out. And I'm like, well, I'm not going to take this out now. And I'm like, I'll let this slide, see what it is. Cause I'm kind of edgy still. And I'm like, maybe this will, take the edge off and stuff. I'm not edgy all the time, just whenever. And I'm like 13 again when you throw your first chaw in. And I'm like, fucking, oh my God. And I'm like, holy shit. Like, I feel like I'm going to puke. And I'm like, this sucks.
Spinning.
This sucks. I'm spinning. And like, I ended up spitting it out and whatever. I was fine. But again, it reminded me of like my mouth water. Like I knew I was so good at puking while I was drinking. I was the master at Russian
walk
drink.
and puke?
The walk and puke.
Wow.
The Russian drunk. You know how many times I puked in back like walkway and just like straight up walk.
It's like almost on command.
On command, like yeah.
That's incredible.
Absolutely, because I could feel it coming and I could go do it and then right back to the bar, get another drink and keep it rolling.
I remember actually you did that up in St. Cloud. We might have told this story before, but you were walking a few steps behind me, and I heard the, and then I was like, I just knew. I turned around. I go, "You just puke?" And you were like, "Yep." We just kept
just
walking
natural.
right to the party. Yeah, I was like, "All right, well,
That's experience.
Yeah. And so it's just those little things that remind you of just those times where like that was shitty. Like I don't want to feel that again. And it's just
that's one of the things that I'm coming back to now more often is, we've talked about the fun times and the great times that we had. And, instead of like all of the great, like coming back and just making everything a great grand memory, I now am understanding like, God, I'm just really glad that I'm not that shitty person that, the next day or even still that night. And so I feel like I've taken a little bit of a step back from the reminiscing and romanticizing about the past, where it's just like some of it, sure, the St. Cloud story. It's a funny anecdote to me. I mean, just part of what you and I dealt with whenever we were together. But like, I just think about that, and yeah, you're just turning around puking. Like that's your body is like not supposed to do that.
Yeah, no.
Like just on a regular basis. Just every time like we got together, it was really just let's get it on the clock and see how long it's going to be till Tony's puking. I mean, truthfully.
yeah,
like,
right. For real. For real.
We're coming up on the 4th of July as we record this right now. And I mean, you remember the power hour that we did, right? And like, just for those of you that don't know, power hour is a shot of beer one shot of beer for every minute over the course of an hour.
Yeah, for 60 minutes.
And yeah, I mean, like you were puking quick, right? And it's like,
No way I lasted, didn't I?
oh, absolutely not. But it's like,
I was watering that tree.
yeah, yeah, you did water that tree.
And fertilize.
And now I look back at those pictures actually
Yes.
from that
Yes.
that day, and it's like, God, we fucking sucked.
And it's a part of growing up too.
Yeah.
Like I'm 40 now, thinking back, and like your 20s are a blur, your 30s were a blur. And it's like, when would you have grown up? And I'm thinking to myself, like, I started drinking when I was in 6th grade. So like 12 years old. And what do they say? Like your brain stops developing the minute you start drinking.
Yep.
And it's like, I'm a fucking 15-year-old in a 40-year-old body. Like I am a kid at heart. I love just being fun and silly and whatever. And, and then the grown up slaps you in the face again. It's like, hey, you got to be a fucking adult here.
Yeah.
And
Your kids need you.
yeah, like my kids need me. But it's a part of like the sobriety in how I deal with it is just that, hey, you can be that, but you can't be the 20 to 35-year-old Tony anymore. Like that is now locked in the past. And every analogy or, cliche, like, hey, you can't change the past. So it's done. It's locked. It's gone. So figure out what you're going to do now and into the future. And just another tip that I use and think about. And like, I just try not to remember. We talk a lot about the past, but it is just one of those things of,
well, and now you have a plan, right? You have a plan for when you are with, what you're going to do at the 4th. What are you going to do? You're going to have a just regular soda, energy drink, root beer in your hand, right? I think at this point, 6 years, I don't think anybody's going to be like, oh, I wonder what's in Tony's Yeti cup, right?
Yeah. But actually, before we talked about iced tea, we talked about iced tea this week.
Yeah.
And I had actually gotten some new iced teas.
Oh, yeah?
And, but I did grab a gallon of sweet tea at the grocery store, and now I'm kicking back on that.
That's just dangerous.
It's so good, but...
Speaking a little bit of plans. So now that you're 35 days in, what's your recovery plan look like? Is there a everyday thing that you're doing? I know you said you're doing some meetings.
Yeah. At least one meeting a day. And I'm also back with Tim. He has his own spot in Rochester.
Nice.
So I drive out there 3 times a week, Monday, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. I work at New Ulm, and I go from there to Rochester 3 times a week.
That is a trek.
But it's worth it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then on the other days, I either, on weekends, I try to go to 2 for now, at least for now.
Sure.
And then there's only been 35 days, like 4 days where I haven't gone to something in a 24-hour span.
There was a stretch probably about a month ago where I went to, I want to say 4 meetings in a week. And I thought I was just
bulletproof.
Yeah. I mean, dude, you see me? 4 meetings in a fucking week?
Yeah, right.
And so I talked to somebody at my 4th meeting. I shared my story. I was like, I had a rough week. This is the 4th meeting that I've been to in a week. And then this guy, and he didn't do it like out of like he wasn't
one-upping you.
Yeah. It was definitely not that, but he was talking about how bad it was like back when he like had first started. He goes, they say 90 meetings in 90 days. He goes, I did 3 meetings a day for 90 days. And I was like, oh, Jesus, man. Like, holy cow.
Yeah.
But that's what he said that he needed. And so, I mean, everybody's recovery is a little bit different, but as long as you've got, your plan and you've got your little bit of support system, that's what you need. That's what gets you, going from day to day.
Yeah.
Also, I have a sponsor.
Okay.
So I meet with him once a week, hammering step 1.
Sure.
I don't think we're close to moving past that yet. I'm not going to ask. It's his deal.
Yeah.
But like this last time I thought we'd, start moving along, and I think we went backward, which is fine. Shout out to Vince.
Sure.
It's fine. There's nothing wrong with beating into your head that alcohol is unmanageable. So I have no complaints about it. But
I think that first step was for the first year that I was in AA. I looked at that step every single day when I went to a meeting, and I was like,
man, fuck you.
yeah, fuck that. I'm
Yeah.
like, I'm fucking, I had that same thought that you were talking about, you know, when you started, potentially going, what word are we
Prelapse.
using? Prelapse. Yeah. So I had that same thought where it's like, I mean, alcohol does not have power over me.
Mm-hmm.
And then I would come back the next week and I would be like, maybe a little bit. And then progressively, once I finally did accept that, then it's like, holy shit. Now you can really open up to the program. One thing that I did just learn about, with this 12th step meeting that I went to was for this last year, I've been what's called two-stepping, which is step 1, step 12. So you say that you're powerless over alcohol, and then you want to share with everybody.
Yeah.
And then you just skip everything in the middle. And that's kind of where I was when I decided that I needed a sponsor.
Okay.
Was because I wanted to get a little bit more of that meat in between. And, I read that, and I feel like most of the time when people go to meetings, it's like, oh yeah, there that is. That makes fucking wild sense. Like you guys have been doing this for almost 100 fucking years.
Yep.
So yeah, just like I said, good to have a plan. Good to always make sure you've got something to fall back on.
Right.
And I got close ones too. If I just start feeling squirrely, even if it's not particularly about alcohol, just a couple people I can talk to.
Yeah.
And I don't even have to be like specific of what's going on. Just talk to them for a few minutes.
Yeah.
And then I'll just be cool. Like just hearing somebody's voice that I wouldn't want to disappoint.
Sure.
Like, hey, what are you doing? Nothing. Cool. What are you doing? I'm supposed to go in the Y. Cool.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Talk to you later. You know,
Right.
Like,
Yeah. Yep.
And it works. Like,
That makes 100% sense to me.
yeah.
Yeah.
Especially in the early times.
Yeah.
Just like, because I don't want to get into that frame of mind where it starts spinning it all.
Sure.
Like I'm confident right now. I'm not, it's just like, it's not negotiable. I'm not going to, but still when it goes around your head, it just sucks. It's just
Absolutely.
extra noise that doesn't need to be there.
One thing I know that you did kind of touch on is that you said, you came out of college and were in the mental health field. Are there some things that you are, you're trying to practice what you preach these days? What are some of the things that you use in your tool bag?
Resiliency is a group I like to teach.
Okay.
And I feel like I'm a resilient individual, and I try to apply it to, because I mean, especially when you're getting sober, there's residual damage. The day you stop drinking doesn't mean the damage stops. So there's stuff then over the last month or so that just keeps coming that I have to deal with. And if I decide to not bounce back from it or just let it eat me up, I'm going backwards. Another thing is cognitive distortions. It's kind of like it starts with a thought. I don't know, it can be as simple as, God, people think I suck. And then it just spirals out of control to people think I suck to, oh, you do suck because you do this. Oh, shit. And by the time I'm at the bottom of my spiral, it's like, you should probably die, because you are the scum of the complete earth.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that's a group I teach a lot in mental health because, there's tons of depression, anxiety out there. And that's where that's a lot where it starts. It starts with a simple thought that spirals out of control. I've been doing that to myself really hard for the last several years.
Dude, I'm hardcore into that right now.
Yeah.
Hardcore
Like just,
into
hey,
that.
let's just kick myself in the teeth.
Yeah.
Type stuff. Yeah.
Like I texted my wife. I'm currently dealing with a situation with some other adults that involve youth sports.
Ooh.
And it's a part of my program. Coaching is a part of my program. It is what I do to keep me sane, to keep me on my track, to keep me on my path. It takes a shitload of time, and I'm very okay with that. I did share in our last podcast that I had gotten caught up in some emotions, and I actually swore in front of the kids. And
I heard that podcast.
yes, so
Throwing
some
F
of
the timers out there.
Yeah, so some of the parents are pissed.
Sure.
Well, there's
Like, are they pissed because they listened to the podcast and were like, bro, I heard that?
no. They knew, and this is a part of this. What did you call it? Cognitive distortion.
Yep.
In where I'm like, then I'm thinking like, shit, these people are talking about me. Like, what are they talking about? How are they talking about it? What are they spinning in here? What are they doing this? And I'm mind fucking myself to absolute insanity at times. And like, I broke out of them. I'm like, hey, I think this is happening. And my wife's like, dude, you're looking into it way too hard. And then I ended up talking to another individual, and yeah, it's not what I'm manifesting in my own head. And that's the kind of shit that might drive somebody to go, well, I'm going down to Riverfront Liquor now because I'm fuck it.
100%.
Fuck those guys.
Yeah.
I need to get drunk because fuck them. Yeah.
Yeah. But there's that support system around me in there. I don't know how I would get through.
I feel like you and I had that conversation too a little bit.
Well, I'm catastrophizing.
Yep.
It's a part of, there's like these 7 deadly sins in cognitive behavioral therapy, which is something I took from my inpatient treatment, and I fucking love it. And yeah, I catastrophize all the time, but I set my bar low. So I just know that I can hit that goal. And then it's like, fuck yeah, dude, I hit that goal. I'm not raising the bar high, but then setting the bar low, I tend to catastrophize. And I'm like, well, what if?
Everything's the worst.
Yes.
What ifs will bring you down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's no question.
Yeah. How have things been with your smarter half the last couple days? Last 35 days.
Well, at first, definitely rough. I mean, she's the one that that got me to the hospital, that, witnessed and dealt with it. So I think anybody at that point would be shook and bothered.
And I ask too, because, we talk about how, again, years and months and however length of recovery, it's like, oh, things are great now. But I mean, talk to us about how you guys are, working through this latest, prelapse.
Yeah. Well, I can say still extremely supportive. Those times I do get down on myself, she's a person that I do talk to that kind of brings me back up, like, hey, remember, you got to remember this, your kids are going to be here for you. Just, good reminders of stuff. Cause it's early recovery. You can get down on yourself pretty quick.
For sure.
Because it's hard, it's just hard. But allowing time and space, and, if she's frustrated, resentful and all that stuff, I just have to deal with that. Because she dealt with it the most, period.
Right.
I mean, she watched it. She watched, she's seen me at my very worst. I mean, I don't get lower than where I was just at. And it's just like watching a train wreck happen in slow motion, but she's been trying to stop it for a long time. And just knowing, eventually just kind of gave up. I do think out of the hospital when I was, sober for a week after I got out, she was surprised or even still doubtful, saying like, I would doubt it if he's lying. And
Sure.
When I heard that it's a gut punch, but at the same time, it's like,
You haven't done anything to prove otherwise.
and I've been lying for
recent memory,
the last how many years about this stuff. So yeah, I guess you'd probably be the last person. It's, for me, it's taking a lot of open wounds and getting salt dumped on it and just having to take it. And it's not like, and she's not being cruel by any means, just honest and resentful, because that's a long time to be putting up with someone's shit.
Right.
And, like I said, between the two of us, we have 5 kids, and I'm 42 years old. What kind of role model am I being?
Right.
A bad one, period. Mm-hmm. Even if I think I'm hiding it, and even if the kids don't know that I'm drinking or drunk at the time, I'm still not my authentic self.
Right.
And she knows that. I mean, she's seen me at my best when I was sober. She was with me for 2 years sober, and then I started. And then she's seen me like progress over the last 5. So having to take in her honesty at some times it's hurtful. I mean, it sucks, but at the same time, I don't blame. And it's like, I don't like to put it this way, but it's almost like I deserve it. I don't know how else to put it. But it also, like what I was saying before, it provides motivation for me because I want to show her too that, you know, you started with me when I was sober and everything was great. That guy's coming back.
Yeah.
You know, and so I just got to keep doing what I'm doing now. And then things will,
Yeah.
I mean, like I said, still supportive, still talk daily. You know, how's your day? Good conversations, tough conversations too.
Right.
But that's going to happen.
I think, and you're in the 12 steps, like you're going in at hardcore. Not really hardcore, but I don't really. And what I'm trying to say is the truth hurts.
Yeah.
And it's a part of sobriety.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a part of something that you have to start accepting.
Owning.
And owning, ownership, taking ownership. That's another one. Jocko Willing.
There you
Look
go.
him up. Yep. Taking ownership in who you are and being honest with yourself. And the truth hurts, but it's only going to hurt for a second. It's only a minimal time. And I mean, I guess you can take that hurt and extend it as far as you want it to go, but you can take that and just pack it away, accept it, and your mind will just ease and calm after you're accepting and owning that. Yep, I fucked up. I did this, and this is what I'm doing to fix it. This is how I'm doing it. These are my solutions, and I'm going to keep running and keep going forward. And that's, I think, a big hurdle that people that are trying to get sober trip over a lot is that, hey, dude, you're going to hear a lot of truth and it's going to fucking burn.
Yes.
It's going to burn big time. And they don't know how to extinguish that fire.
Right. Well, and then I also be like, my sponsor just told me last Tuesday, okay, we're done with you kicking in your teeth. You know, all your guilt, your shame, what you're mad about yourself, everything you've done, we're done with that.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just honestly like, I can't do that. I'm not ready to do that. And I'm also kind of using it as motivation for now. I was like, I know what you're saying, but I hurt too many people that I care about to just put it aside like that. It's not going to bring me to drinking. I can see if I never let it go down the road. Absolutely, it could. You know, just going back to beating yourself up, cognitive distortions, all that good stuff. But I'm not ready for that because, like, for me, then that means, I let all that go now. I'm 35 days in. I was just a wreck, you know, making other people's lives that I live with difficult because I can't stop drinking. Okay, so now I'm supposed to just let it go. But in the meantime, all those people, they're not letting it go right now.
Yeah.
So you just want me to let it go while this other person's holding on? I don't feel like that's fair because I'm the one that did this. It's not them. So that's kind of where my head goes. And I don't feel like it's at this time a bad thing. Kind of use it as motivation because I don't like it when, you know, loved ones don't like me.
Yeah.
You know, it's probably the worst thing ever.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I just think that's where, like with Al-Anon and all that stuff, like that time difference where we're supposed to just let it go. It's your past, but your spouse is just supposed to do that too. I mean, that's, if they're able to, great.
Right.
That's awesome. But by no means am I going to expect that out of, you know, Jenna or, you know, anyone's spouse. Like that's just, that time to me just doesn't equal up.
Right.
Because then you just look like, oh yeah, it's fine. You know, I drank for a while and, you know, I'm sorry you're pissed, but I've moved on. Well, they're not.
They have. Right.
I do think that one thing that, you know, you touched on a little bit was feeling deserving. I feel like that's a big part of the next step in recovery. That was a big thing to me is, you know, when you do start working your program, you do start doing the things and you build up a little bit of time, you know, 30 days, 35 days. That's not a small feat, right? That's a huge thing to make the decision to stop and to stick with it.
Yep.
Eventually, when you do build up a little bit more of that time, something good will happen to you. And you gotta try to get rid of that poisonous thought of, I don't deserve this, because you do deserve everything that you're getting when you get it.
Yep.
Right. So that's just something that I wanted to to kind of talk about is just that whole deservedness piece is don't ever think that you're not good enough.
Right.
When good things do start happening, because they will.
Yeah.
You know. But yeah, right now it's a tough time, and it's just something that you've got to grin and bear it for a little bit.
Yep.
So,
you know, you had mentioned about that nurse that didn't like your exit plan, and like I have 5 things that you wrote that you mentioned that are part of your plan, and it's, I guess it's hard maybe on the spot to throw a plan out there, but within the last half hour we're talking, and like you like this is it's solid. You're rock solid. Like I having you come in here and like, you know, when you were in the rooms early on and somebody would come in that you haven't seen and there's just an aura around them where you're like, yeah, this fucking dude ain't gonna make it. He's not making it. He's not there. He's not with it. I haven't gotten that sense with you since we've been talking here, and we're going on like an hour here.
Nice.
And like, I can tell that you're with it. I can tell that whatever happened here in the last 35 days, 90 days or whatever, really now struck that chord. And I always say I got to get punched in the face, the stomach, and the dick at the same time for me to realize something.
Twice.
Yeah. And I think that happened to you. And so, I can see that. And it's, your plan is meeting, sponsor. You got a couple of people that you reach out to that kind of hone you back in and put you back on ground level. You got Goggins fucking ripping you in
every day.
in the
Listen
rear.
to him.
And you got that competitive nature about yourself that whatever it is, like I have this streak going, like I'm going on 6 years. I don't know how many days it is, but every hour I notch off or every day I notch off like that, I can't break my streak. And that's my competitive part of myself. And with the naysayers and all you haters out there, just watch me, continue to watch me. And so I can tell that this will be a different road than the last time for sure.
Appreciate that. I feel that way. I have told that to a few people, but when you're in my spot, they're like, okay,
Yeah.
but it's not for them to believe. I'm the one that has to believe it.
Right.
And I do. Can't do it again. It's just too hard.
Yeah.
It's just too hard on the body, the mind, and loved ones.
Right.
I don't have it in me to do another round, and it's just not worth it. You know what I mean? Like I said, I've been sober before, and that was another thing that made it so hard while I was drinking, because I knew how easy and better it was before, but I had no clue how I was going to get back to that. Like no clue. Like my brother would say, you know how to do it. You can do it. You've done it before. Like you don't understand.
Yeah.
And that's why they, at AA meetings, they say, it's always harder to get sober again because you know what you're up against, and it just makes it that much harder. So thank you. I appreciate that though. You forget I also go to a wellness group in Rochester.
There we go. Wellness. Yeah. That's 6 things right there.
Yeah. It works. It keeps me busy. I mean, I get up at 5 and by the time I'm done with work and, AA things or whatever, it's 7, 8 o'clock. I'm starving and I'm tired.
You just said the word busy.
Yeah.
And that has been a big part of my plan is staying busy.
Yep.
And it's, what did Melinda say, is self-care. It's a part of my self-care is just staying busy. And I don't have time. I don't have time to pick up a drink. Like, how much fucking time did I waste?
Oh, don't even get me started.
Sitting at a bar, one arm on the bar, talking to whoever.
Talking to nobody.
For nothing.
Well, I mean, it was buddies, it was friends, whatever. At the end there, like, I was going out by myself and be like, oh yeah, my buddies are working and fucking shit like that.
Oh, you too?
Oh yeah. Yeah. And, but it was like, how much time did you waste? And like, I don't have time for that shit anymore. But another very unique thing about you is you're in the mental health industry, right? Like, it's kind of fascinating. And I haven't dove back into mental health stuff, and I want to have more people on that talk about mental health. And I don't want to talk mental health as like, it's just like, it's like sappy kind of shit like that. Like mental health. There's a real thing going on there. I actually weaned myself off of the depression and anxiety medication. But I was also taking that while I was drinking.
This is not a doctor approved.
I am not a doctor.
This is not medical advice.
I am not
this
a doctor.
Is not medical
I'm not
advice.
a doctor. But where I was going with it is the alcohol is what was driving all of that. And now that I'm sober, me personally, I do not need anything chemically to like change my chemical mental health part of it.
They took me off it in the hospital, and I haven't been back on anything since, and I don't need it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that furthermore tells me how much alcohol made me feel depressed.
Right.
Like I'm not even taking meds for it anymore.
Yeah.
And and despite my circumstances at the time, at this time, you know, just getting stuff hard, you'd think it'd be worse.
Right.
But it's not.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
it makes me wonder, like these people who are walking around, they're like, oh, poor me. They're all depressed all the time. You know, they're ER. Oh, yeah. And it's like, do you drink?
Yeah.
Are you drinking every day? Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, try stop fucking drinking. You won't have to take 6 pills a day.
Well, and like the type of anxiety pills that people are taking, and then you find out they're regular drinkers. And it's just like, I mean, I was once myself. I was, you know, not taking like clonidine or whatever, Klonopin.
Yeah.
But it's just like, you know, here I am being hypocrite again, telling people who don't know that I'm an alcoholic myself.
Yeah.
You know, if you didn't drink so much, you probably wouldn't need to take that.
Yeah.
Like, what do you mean? Forget it.
Yeah.
You know what? Don't worry.
It's not going to matter what I say because you know what?
You and I are alike. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. It really would be interesting to get like a little 10 people and be like, all right, well, here you go.
Yeah.
All you 5 stop drinking. You 5, here's another couple of pills or something, but keep drinking and see if you improve. And I bet you the 5 who quit drinking turn their lives around.
I would bet a lot on that.
Yeah.
Well, in this group that I go to in Rochester, it's not like a substance abuse group. He won't call it that anymore. When I first met him, he was hardcore. It's chemical dependency. It's substance abuse. Got to deal with it. Now he's brought a lot of mental health into his program. And he doesn't call it outpatient. He doesn't call it substance abuse group or anything. He calls it a wellness group. Mm-hmm. And I mean, it's equal parts mental health and addiction.
Is that group open to anybody, or is it like invite only?
He will. No, it's not. No, you'll have to like get in.
Sure.
He's very good about letting people in, even if they like don't even have insurance, because he's a addict himself. 17 years sober. He just had.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
He was a dumpster addict. Would take leftovers out of dumpsters and use it. Like he's one of the worst I've heard. But besides that, you might have
to connect us some.
You want him in here. I was going to bring that up after the show.
Yeah.
Like he would
awesome.
be amazing to talk to. Like for me, the 2 times I've gotten sober, it's him I'm mostly working with.
Yeah.
So for me, I've called him to my brother. He's a white David Goggins, but just with a bigger heart.
Yeah.
Like he can get real with you if he knows you can take it.
Yeah.
Like for me, he's kind of a build you down, I'll build you back, take you down, I'll build you back up. And he can do it in like 5 minutes though, too. It's not over time. He'll just bring it back. But yes, I'll give you his contact information after here.
Yeah. That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
So where was I going with this?
Well,
Yeah, whatever.
it happens.
We were talking about, drugs or medications with drinking, and
so it's just like how he's able to connect, and he'll do it during the group, like almost by design. He'll pick out the people he's has trauma as a kid, and it's almost like identical stories about how they started using substances, or just parents dying as young kids and stuff. Like there's direct correlation with it. I mean, I've seen it with myself, people I work with, and in these groups. So I fully believe that mental health needs to come in with substance abuse treatment.
Absolutely.
a lot more than it has in the past. I think it's starting to head that way.
Yeah.
But there's other places that are still, well, we're going to test you every 2 seconds. And, you know, if you have a bad test, we're kicking you out of the program. Well, you know what? They're an addict.
Yes.
If you're expecting perfection, especially right away, you're the idiot.
Right.
Like, so, I mean, those programs I think are coming a thing of the past.
Yeah. The VA definitely has incorporated mental health.
Good.
I went to the VA in St. Cloud, and
Okay.
I would say the majority of the programs and the classes I went in were mental health based classes. Then they're teaching you like, hey, like your automatic thoughts are what are driving you going this way, and you know, catastrophizing, the what ifs, the you know, all of that stuff, and that's all your mental health. And then your mental health is driving you to continue to drink, and it's just this
Insidious
it's a
cycle.
merry-go-round. Yeah, it's just this cycle.
Yeah.
It's a self-fulfilling prophecy, I think, is that's how I've always understood it, is if you're going to treat me like I'm lesser, then I'm going to act like I'm lesser, and then you're just going to keep treating me that way, and I'm going to keep acting that way. You know,
I mean, with that, what makes PTSD symptoms, anxiety symptoms, depression symptoms go away the fastest? Chemicals. You know, whether you smoke anything or alcohol or whatever your choice, it makes it go away quick.
Right.
Because for people like myself, the thoughts start in the morning, and then you're just battling them all day along with other normal life things. By the end of the day, you just want it to go away.
Yeah.
And there's nothing quicker than a few shots of vodka that make it go away and make you feel warm and fuzzy for a few minutes.
Right.
You know, it's that 15-minute relief that turns into a night that's shitty and a morning that's even worse.
Right.
Or in lost conversations that you had that you didn't even know.
Right.
But you just did it to relieve yourself for that little bit. And it's just like, if people realize if they just went for a walk, you know, just tried it, go for a walk,
Yes,
you know,
100%.
what average craving takes 15 minutes to go away is what I've learned and heard.
Yeah.
And I believe it because,
Yeah.
you know, I've lived it. And if you can just find a way to distract yourself for that short time.
Yeah, I've dealt with that that very recently, where it's just become an exercise in breathing, and just I have to
I
like
love that.
sit there and concentrate, breathe in, breathe out, like close my eyes, do one of that magical thing called, you know, meditating, where it's like you're just sitting there, not thinking about anything, just let it pass. Because that whole 15-minute, you know, time period that's when I used to make the worst decisions.
The worst.
You know, it was, okay, I need instant gratification. I need to get over this feeling. I fucking hate the way that I feel right now.
Right.
So give me the bottom of a bottle. We're good. Then it's 5 years later, 20 years later. It's like, oh, fuck, I fucking left a wake of destruction in my path while this has been going on.
Right.
So
rationalize your irrational thought. That was what I was trying to tell you that day that you called me.
Yeah.
I will take my irrational thought and ask myself it over and over and over again. And then it'll finally get to a point where it's like, no, rationalize it. And it's like, no, don't need it.
I like to, what the old guys, they still say tape, play the tape forward. Like tape? No one's got tape, brother.
Yeah.
Hey, brother.
VHS?
What's that?
We talking
Yeah.
beta
What are
here?
we talking about here? But, you know, play the tape forward like, okay, sure, you could probably get away with it for tonight, not get all smashed. What's tomorrow going to look like for you?
Yeah.
I mean, you just,
100%.
you're flicking, you know, matches on kindling, you know, one of these times that one spark, and that's all it's going to take.
Right.
So, you know, if it goes past, you know, talking to somebody and, you know, say a couple people won't answer, it's like, okay, yeah, go to the store, predict what happens to you in the next 24 hours, week, month. Your life's going straight down the shitter once again. It's like, yeah, not worth it.
Right.
Not worth it.
100%.
Well, I got what's my my one question. You know what? I'm a really shitty
We gotta figure out.
here.
Well, we gotta figure out a name for this once we get to
the wrap up
towards
session.
Yeah.
Well, we did have a name for it at one point.
Yeah.
Like wrap it up, B. Get that wrap it up box.
Get that wrap it up. Better wrap that gavel up, B.
Do you know what that's from?
Chappelle Show. Yeah.
Oh yeah, wrap it up, B.
Yeah, wrap it up,
in the
B.
court.
Yeah, do you think Corey?
Okay.
Better wrap that gavel up.
The
B.
wrap it up box.
Yeah.
Available at Walmart.
Yeah. So, well, maybe I bet you there's a wrap it up box out there. Maybe we'll
bet
just
we
get
could
one of
find
those,
it.
and we'll
Hit
just hit
that.
that. Like,
Yeah,
that'll
wrap
be
it
the
up.
time when we're on the wrap it up. Yeah.
So it's a little reminiscing. I had like a couple of questions, but the one question I always really like to ask is what was your party song? What was that song that always is playing that either at a party or in your car or wherever when you're not driving drunk? I mean,
Well, Biggie Hypnotize.
Sure.
okay.
Yeah.
Whatever, I'll say it. Last time I did karaoke, and this is a song I learned at a very, very young age from my middle brother. Way too young to know this one. Two Live Crew, Me So Horny.
Nice.
I mean,
Yes.
when that comes on, people are just shocked, and I know every word,
Yeah.
because I've been listening since I was 8. So
Nice. Did you get the big one that had like the big sticker that said over 18 only
100%,
from
yep.
disc jockey in the mall? Nice.
brother got it, brought it
Nice.
home.
I remember that was like a life
listen to
goal.
this.
That was a life goal of mine to get that CD. And then, of course, I never did, but
Yeah.
listen a little to Life Crew. The one thing that I want to know is on this very, very recent journey, what is something that you would like to tell anybody that's listening out there that's on a fresh start, let's say,
That has started.
that has started, that's
Okay.
thinking about starting?
It takes mass action. There's no half stepping. If you really want to make it through, especially the first 30, 60, 90 days, you have to do something daily and more than once, in my opinion. I mean, if you're a person that can just quit, great job, but the majority of us need some sort of support. And you have to build up a support system. You have to find people you can trust. Even though when you've probably broken a lot of trust with people, there's usually for everyone, there's a person or two. And what is it? The 3 C's: commitment, consistency, and connection. Those three things I feel, I've been doing that the most I can with these last 35 days. Now, I used to be the first person out the door when meetings are done. Now I make my ass sit there till somebody talks to me.
Nice.
And it's just like someone always comes and talks to me, and I don't care if it's a meaningless conversation, if it's with the old guy who's 90 years old, I can barely tell what he's saying. Sit down and talk, man.
Yeah.
We're all here. What's your rush? Where do you got to go?
Mm-hmm.
Because this is the most important thing really in your life. Because if this goes away, everything else goes away too.
Mm-hmm.
And just open mind. Listen to the old timers. They're old timers for a reason.
Yep.
They did it the right way, and they didn't quit. And they're not dry drunks. They're happy guys and girls and women, whatever. So I guess for me, that's it. And then accepting who you are. Trying to learn how to get comfortable in your own skin. That one's kind of tough at first. It is for me, but you get there.
Nice.
I like it.
That was great. Love that.
It's perfect.
Anything else you got?
I'm good. Pete, it was a pleasure. I very much appreciate you coming on.
Yeah.
I'm very grateful for you taking the time to come here and be open with us and share your story. And because I know it's tough. The truth hurts, which we talked about. Super proud of you, buddy.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Appreciate it,
There's
guys.
your claps. Prove yourself wrong. Prove those haters wrong.
Yep.
Fuck the haters.
Fuck the haters. Keep going, man. Like I said, you got it. I think you got it. And if you prove me wrong, I'm coming after you, buddy.
Yeah. No.
I'm gonna be your white fucking David Goggins.
That's fine. I just watched one with him the other day. He just said you got to have an unlimited amount of fuck yous.
Yeah.
And you can make that out to however you want, but for me, I got an unlimited amount of fuck yous for some people.
Yeah.
Because I got some proven to do here.
Exactly.
So
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right.
Again.
Yeah, thanks for
Appreciate
having me
it.
on, guys.
Yeah,
I appreciate it.
absolutely.
It's always good to talk about it too. So
Yeah. Yeah. I think with that, we're
Good to go.
peace out. Thanks
Right on.
everybody for listening.
Thanks.